Right, how are we doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we're going to be talking about stop stalling and flipping coming in towards the hitting area, and I think that we're all very familiar with the term flipping. George, before you rip that one, yeah, well done. Show us like a flip. Yeah, kind of flippy nature. So the definition of a flip would be, if you get set up again for us, and it's freezing cold here, so you have to leave George's jacket on for him, but essentially it's only the definition of a flip if the angulation of the wrist increases. Exactly. So there are going to be exceptions that you know, you can return the wrist into the same sort of position and rotate your arm this way, and it might look flippy, but it would be absolutely fine. But obviously a flip would be if that angulation increases. Stalling, I think, is more of a feeling, isn't it? You know, so I think, you know, stalling would be that you just know that you're not pivoting, you know that you're not clearing, and you know that you're reliant on saving it with your hands, and it's just not a nice feeling to have, because some days you'll get away with timing it and other days you're just going to massively struggle. And what we've been doing on the channel recently is been talking a lot about the rotational aspect of the golf swing, so clearing the lead hand side, and what we're going to talk about in much more detail as of next week, if not in more detail the following week, is how obviously how influential your pivoting action is on how your release actually looks. So if you kind of the definition of why you would be stalling is basically what happens in the golf swing is you're going to shift pressure, so you're going to always keep your pelvis very much in posture, so downward facing, and you're going to be making sure that as you're doing this, you're going to get the feeling that you're turning the pelvis into the leg on the way back, and you're not basically turning over onto the leg. Now the problem is that if you introduce just a subtle sway for us, the problem is as soon as you start to sway a little bit, you end up shifting quite a lot of pressure onto the hip joint itself, and it basically isolates the motion, so you basically get stuck. Now, it happens on the backswing, but it also happens much more commonly in towards the downswing. So what we see with professional golfers is that we see them shift left, but you have to understand that they are shifting left in a linear motion, but it's still very much a rotation, so they don't kind of rotate the hips 40 degrees, bump them, close 40 degrees, and then pivot. They're rotating as they're starting to shift left, which is an important thing to understand. And the definition would be that if you were to draw a line vertically, so don't swing through for a moment, but if you were to draw a line vertically through the lead ankle, and if you swing up to the top and pause, you basically can shift left. So if you kind of just shift a little bit more left for us in that transition, yeah, but you can never get your hip joint to surpass the lead ankle line, because if it does, you're basically going to get stuck. And as soon as you get stuck, so if you kind of show us a pre-parallel, yeah, as soon as you get stuck, it's like you're not going to be able to pivot out the way, which means that you're going to be reliant on hands, and that's why you're going to be hitting it. So what we're trying to do on the channel is that we are trying to do some short videos like this one, where we're just talking about the discussion of the idea of things. So we're just talking about little tips. So recently we've kind of done a scorecard drill, talked about alleviating weight pressure off the lead leg, and we're also talking about flipping, and basically you can kind of condense these down, take little snippets of information that you want to, but if you're struggling with your impact position, there's a very good chance that it's your pivot that is potentially letting you down coming in towards the hit. So I would start to just work on some of the drills that I've also put on uploads, and you want to make sure that lead hip isn't surpassing that ankle line. And the way you're going to feel that is, well, if you pause again, pre-parallel, so perfect, and if you shift a bit more left, you know what I mean, and now slowly try and pull back, it's going to feel a lot harder, yeah. So if you kind of, if at home you mess around with the idea of shifting left and then try and pull the hip back, you know, you're going to find it very difficult. If you can keep turning the pelvis into the leg, you're going to have a greater range of motion, and then you're going to find it much easier to kind of snap up and out the way, which seems like a very athletic thing to do, but you know, in essence, not really, right? You can just kind of get the hips moving towards the target by understanding how to function things like the lead leg, which we've talked about in a small amount of detail in the video, so I'd definitely check them out. Catch up with you guys again soon.